Today's Wednesday, May 8th, and we got some old-time hockey today, eh?
The fights are real.
They are real.
You're not in like all the fights are real. There's been times that, and the game's gotten away from some of like, there used to be some where we would just line up for a face-off, and our team would be up, 3-0, and you're trying to get the home crowd going. Oh, let's go. And then you fight. Like, I hated those, and I lost those fights because I'm not mad.
Right.
And but you had to do it at times.
And I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top. Keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life. Good life.
Coming in hot, picky, brother. How we doing? Look who I got with me today, bro.
Look who you're with. Two things. One, you're in the house that Chinch built. I don't care what anybody says about that. That's my office right there. Not to brag. Number two, as a Sicilian short man who has been in a lot of scuffle-ups in my life, this might be the one guest we have on who I would never mess with, dude. I'm very excited to have him on right now. What do we got?
Hey, I don't know, man. If you've been in a lot of,
Dust ups.
tilts, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, it means you're a gamer in all situations.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Say never.
I love it.
Nice.
All right, let's introduce Rupper to our audience out there for all the people that are listening. 14 years in the NHL, right? Played for the Devils, the Phoenix Coyotes, the Danbury Trashers. We're going to talk about that. You probably don't know who they are, Chinch. Columbus Blue Jackets, the Penguins. That's where I met Rupper when he was with the Penguins. Let's go, baby. We took a trip to Haiti together. That's going to be on here too. Rangers and the Minnesota Wild, bro. Guy's an absolute monster too. You think he's a monster in person? 6'5", 240 in person, and Jack Diesel. You see him on skates. I went down one day to a practice down there, and hooking up with Rupper and Max Talbot, a couple guys, Sidney Crosby. Dude, Rupper on skates, dude, is an absolute. It looks like 6'10". It looks like an NBA player.
I love it. Nice. Let's
Well, Rupper, man,
What's up, Rupper?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, dude. Before we kind of get into your journey and all that stuff, NHL hockey's is huge right now. Obviously, everything's going. The playoffs are going on. Chinch is a huge Rangers fan. So maybe we touch on the Rangers first. Like, sounds like they're pretty good. They're up 2-0.
Yeah, 6-0 in the playoffs so far.
Wow,
that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
So it swept the first round, went through the first round, no problem. I mean, the Rangers finished President's Trophy, best record in the NHL this year. But man, they're rolling right now, and they've got a great goaltender. Their power plays like a thing of beauty, man. You watch them snap up; they look like the damn Globetrotters. It's pretty. They got some nice,
unbelievable skill guys.
Yeah. So if I guess if you're going to try to beat them, you got to slow that power play down. But then you also got to get one past. Igor Shesterkin's like one of the best goalies in the world, and so yeah, they're set up nice. I don't think they're probably a lot of people don't have them as favorites, even though they had the best record in the league, but they've got all the parts to win a Stanley Cup. It'll be the first one since '94. You know that shit.
Wow, absolutely, bro. Dude, in New York right now, there was no better time. I know the Yankees are big and all that stuff and whatever in this town. Case, I've told you this before. When the Rangers and Knicks are good at the same time, the Rangers are the only team that plays in the heart of Manhattan, dude. You walk out and you're in New York City. It's like a different vibe, right, Rupper? It's like
How about this though? This is what's really interesting to me. It's like I'm not a Knicks fan, but I've kind of have jumped on the bandwagon right now. Right. Like Jalen Brunson's so fun to watch. I love it. Yeah, but you've got it MSG. So in round 1 and round 2, because both of them where they're seated, both have home court, home ice advantage, and you're sitting here. It's like there'll be like every night for 4 nights is like Knick game, Ranger game, Knick game, Ranger game. Place is booming. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the other thing with it too, which very well could happen, is you could theoretically have a Rangers Bruins,
Oh,
Eastern
man.
Conference Finals, and you could have Knicks,
Knicks,
Celtics,
Celtics.
Eastern
Holy
Conference.
shit.
But like, I'm like, dude, this is
Look
like
at
New York.
war, look at
Boston.
war.
Yeah, like, and you know that, and yeah, so it's fun right now. I mean, it's electric down there at MSG, and
What was it? What was it like playing at the Garden
I mean, it's always
as a home? Obviously, as the New York, you're playing for the Rangers.
but even playing as an opponent coming in there, I mean, you play certain ballparks, like it's like it feels like
You go to Philly.
a different state.
Yeah.
It almost felt like the original 6 team. So the Rangers were one of the first 6 teams in the league. In playing in that arena, and it just felt like everyone's watching, right? They're like the big moments. So even as an opponent, but at a home crowd, it's the best, man. It's the best. You're at MSG, and I mean, I played for the Rangers for 2 years. These fans, like, they love the Rangers. You know what I mean? Like, this stuff's even going down there. I'll go sometimes now and watch a game. I'll just go with like a hat on, just being a fan, and having a beer, and then people will turn around, they're weird. Like, this is the best. It's so fun. It's my favorite thing to do. The Rangers have me come in and do some alumni stuff. And, most of the alumni come in like dressed up and like look like, and I'm wearing like a hoodie. I'm drinking beers with the fans. I'm like, it's the best gig going. So
great,
man. That's so great.
Rupper, when you look back, first off, I want to go back to like hockey, like minor league hockey. I was looking at this and doing some research, and it said you were drafted 9th overall by the Islanders. Then a couple years later, you were drafted 76th overall by the Devils. Like, can you take us back to what was that? You drafted out of high school?
Yeah, so I was I grew up in Cleveland, and high school hockey. So for those that don't know, like, hockey's different than other sports, right? Like, I would assume in baseball that everyone plays high school baseball, right? And then you go to play college ball, and in hockey, it's like if you're playing high school hockey, it's not usually the highest level of hockey for that age of the high school age, unless you're in Minnesota. Minnesota's a high brand of high school hockey, so all of the best players a lot of times will go play that. But in any other state, like, generally you're playing somewhere else, like an independent club, travel teams, and whatever.
For high school, like,
for high school.
So they're called juniors or something?
You go play junior hockey and all that stuff. So, like, if someone comes up to you like, I was captain of my high school team, like, dude, that kind of sucks. And that's not what you say. So cool, you're a captain of the worst team out there. No, but I'm just messing. Hey, I'm high school hockey. But I will say this though, with that being said, I played high school hockey in Cleveland, which was not a good high school hockey area, through my junior year in high school. And my draft year was after my senior year. So my senior year, I ended up going and playing junior hockey, went to Canada, got drafted. So I was 1 year removed from playing high school hockey. So I got drafted 9th overall, New York Islanders. Way it works, you have 2 years. So I got drafted like late June. You have till June 1st, 2 years later, to sign with the team. And I ended up not signing with the team. And I know Mike Milbury, so you got to look him up. Mike Milbury played in the NHL as a general manager of the New York Islanders. Crazy. Remember, there's a whole scene where he's in the stands. There's a brawl with the players climbing in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
And he took off his shoe and started hitting. Remember this? That's Mike Milbury. That's why I didn't sign. It's because this guy's nuts. No. So anyways, my agent was like, hey, you're going to be like an 11th hour signing. So I remember we were getting, probably like May 30th. And so I've got very little time to sign here. And they offered a contract, and my agent kind of said to me, like, yeah, so they offered this, like, it wasn't where you should be. So I told Mike Milbury, if that's all you're willing to offer me, be prepared to let him go back in the draft. And he said, Milbury just hung up on him. And then I'm like, so my dad and I are sitting there. I'm like an 18-year-old kid. I'm like, turn to my dad, who never played hockey in his life, doesn't know this business at all. I'm like, that doesn't seem ideal, And so I'm like, what do we do now? So then eventually we talked about it. My dad I'm like, can we call back and just say like, that's good. Like, I just want to get an opportunity to start playing. So my agent starts calling Mike Milbury, and like midnight is like the deadline. It's like 11 p.m. We're calling him. He's going right to voicemail. He's not answering our phone call. So then I wake up in the morning. I'm like, I guess I'm a free agent. No. I didn't go back in the draft and got drafted. It all worked out, but yeah, that's why it's a weird. Not many guys go through it like that. Like, it usually doesn't work, especially with like a top 10 pick. You usually don't go back in the draft, but that's kind of what happened.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Hey, no, we were just kidding, Mike. Yeah. Like, it's not good. We'll take it. No answers. We'll let you know we're good.
I had actually worked with them though. I worked with them when the NHL's rights were with NBC. I went in there and worked, and I was an analyst with Mike Milbury on set.
Oh my God, you
First
tell that
time
story?
I see him since.
You tell the story?
He was cool. He was person, dude. He was good, but I didn't know. Like, do I bring this up? Like, dude, why didn't you pick up the phone?
Hey, hey, we don't really want our dads to negotiate. Negotiate, dude. I got a great story. You'll probably appreciate this. In 1995, I get drafted in the second round by the Cleveland Indians, and this is 95 when Cleveland Rocks. They're dominating. They're loaded. They're loaded with some of the best players in the game. Even Eddie Murray, Dave Winfield are on that team.
Yeah.
So I come in as the second round pick. John Hart has it up in his box. Jay Robertson, who's the guy that the coordinator for the Indians at the time. He's the big draft guy. So they come up there, they get me in the room. So my dad's in there. Sometimes when I'm with my dad, you're like, give me a six. Like, with dad, like that, just don't say anything.
Yeah.
So my dad goes in as like the agent. It's like my agent's not with me, but my dad's there. He's like, you got to know how to negotiate. I'm like, you're negotiating today? It's such a bad idea for everybody. I don't know what's going on. So we get in the box. We're yucking up with John Hart. They're all excited. Down on the field. First of all, this is the first thing. Because I never told you this story. So we go up there. My dad's one of the worst. I know, Dad, you're watching this, but I got a barrier right here because you're one of the worst people's names. So we get on the field. I'm nervous as can be. I'm the second round pick. I'm like, all the guys are there told me all this. So Mike Hargrove walks up, and he's like, hey, Sean, how you doing? Mike Hargrove, oh man, nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah.
And then my dad's like couple over, and he's like, hey, how you doing, Mr. Casey? Mike Hargrove, pleasure to meet you, Mark. I'm like, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. He calls Mike Hargrove Mark. We go up into the box. They offer me the slot we're looking for is like 220 something. So they come in and, hey, listen, we got 160 grand for your son. That's all we got. My dad's like, all right. He's like, we're out of here then. What?
Wait, you mean tonight or like forever?
I was like, are you going to pull a Mike Rupp right here and not answer our call if we walked out of here? So dude, we walked out. I was so embarrassed. I told my dad, get me, Dad, you got to negotiate. Maybe my dad was right there. We ended up signing for 220.
Nice.
Mr. Casey, don't call Mr. Casey. And quick one too. We had a father's trip in Pittsburgh, and so I don't know in baseball if you guys ever did it, but it's so cool in hockey. Later on, they do it now. They have mother's trips and everything, siblings trips, and so they'll pick us somewhere on the schedule, right? And they have all the dads go on the trip. So my dad likes to, he likes to have a couple drinks.
Right.
And so we're out, big team meal, and we're sitting at the table, and my dad's next to me, and we got a big round table, and we got a bunch of different ones. And my dad keeps disappearing from the table. And my teammate Craig Adams next to me, he's like, hey, Rupp, your dad's over there. And I look, he's over there cornering the GM. And just talking to him. So I go up, and it was Ray Shero at the time. I go up and I'm like, hey guys, I'm like, hey Dad, why don't you come sit down and eat, bud? Like, come sit down. And I'm like, I look at Ray, I'm like, sorry, Ray. And he's just like, no, it's good. I was just talking to him, whatever. And he tell him crazy ass stories. And then I go back and we sit down, and then 5 minutes later, Craig's like, hey, your dad's working on your extension again. The whole time I was just like, Dad, come on, dude, you can't just keep running up to the GM and the coaches, man. Stop. You gotta parents love you, man. They're just looking out for you,
Yeah.
Dude, listen, we got to stay on one more dad story from my dad. So you'll love this, Robert. So your dad comes, you get him in the past. Hey, come on down. Maybe for the for early pregame or whatever. Come say hi in the clubhouse, whatever. So it's spring training with the Reds. We're down in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm like, and my dad's there. So I give him the pass to come down with my father-in-law at the time, John Kanka. So they come down or whatever. you know, good to see you, Dad. He's there for the BP. Where's one of the a mayor's shirt with like a cartoon character of me? I'm like, oh, here we go. So right before the game, Robert's literally, when I tell you, it's like 10 minutes before the game, 15 minutes before the game, I'm stretching. And Danny Graves, one of our closers, is there just kind of
Big 55, man.
You know,
Yeah.
exactly. So Gravy's sitting there and he goes, I'm like, you know, down to the right. I'm stretching down. He goes, hey, Case, is that your dad? I go, where? What do you mean? Yeah, my dad's at the game. He goes, no, is that your dad running on the warning track? What is he doing? Him and my father-in-law at the time are running a pole, you know, like in the minor league. When you're in the spring training, the pitchers, after they're done pitching, they'll just do their poles during the game. So my dad is on a full sprint in the outfield. 10,000 people. My dad's in a full sprint right before the game starts. And he, you know, I see him blow out his hammy like 10 feet. He goes down. I'm like, what's that? So you know, get him off the field. I'm like, oh my God, it's incredible. So I say to my dad afterwards, you know, in only a father-son encounter, I go, Dad, I go, listen, I can't be giving you these passes if you're going to run a pole 10 minutes before the game. Like, that's point taking advantage of things. He goes, lighten up. Lighten up.
So good, man.
They be telling you to lighten up too. Right? Okay. Yeah. He's telling Sean to lighten up.
Oh my God, it's incredible. It was incredible. Oh my God,
great.
it was so late. So Rupper, I want to go back to you know, obviously Chinch and I were talking earlier just about like, you know, first off, the one moment I want to go back to your career is that early on with the Devils, you scored the game-winning goal in Game 7 to win the championship Stanley Cup. That was your first goal in the Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah, it was my first playoff goal.
First playoff goal to win the whole thing, Game 7 in New Jersey. Can you take us back to that and just like that whole the whole vibe, winning the cup there with the Devils? But what was that? What happened on that goal?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was I don't know how it is in other sports, but in hockey we call the Black Aces. Black Aces are basically your minor league guys. When your minor league season's over and your parent club is in the playoffs, they'll grab a few players at each position. It's insurance policy, right? Like, and they'll bring them in town and you'll practice to stay active. So if heaven forbid anything happens with the big club, you got some players that have I don't know, skated in the last little bit, you know, as opposed to going on their vacations in the summer, right? So it's not a great gig. Like you've been in the minors for a long time, all season long. It's a grind. You're looking at the roster. They already have like 4 extra forwards. So like those forwards have to go down. And then I have to be the one to get picked out of the 5 others. So it's like, you don't really see guys like that get in. So you're skating on your own. You're not with the team. You're skating. You're working out. They keep you like working. You feel like you're going to puke every day. And this is like each round's like 2 weeks. So this is 3 rounds of this is going on. Right. So you're talking 6 weeks of doing this every day, where everybody else on your team and all your buddies from the regular season, I mean, they've gone to Mexico and back twice probably. they're enjoying their relaxing time and having a summer. And you're sitting there like, oh my gosh. So anyways, before the finals, because we were playing against Anaheim. So Jersey, Anaheim, obviously geographically long distance. So they're like, we need a couple guys to travel with us. Right. So they asked me and another guy to travel. So we're traveling, just trying to stay out of the way. Now I'm practicing with them. So at least at that point, I'm like, oh, this is cool just to take it in. Try to stay out of the way. I'm like an extra. I'm not even doing all these drills in practice.
How old were you? How old were you at the time?
I was 23. 23, yeah. Wow. So I end up I'm not even getting the reps in practice. I'm just kind of staying off to the side. And then I remember before Game 4, literally we're in Anaheim, and Game 4, we get to the arena, and me and the guy that were called up, like 2 young guys, I just had a conversation with them, like in Anaheim, like they had this huge nacho like spread. It was sick. So we were just wolfing down these nachos. And at that time, we were up 2-1 in the series. We won the first 2 games at home. They won the next Game 3 in Anaheim. And all of a sudden, we're talking about that, and the trainer goes, "Hey, Pat, the head coach, Pat Burns, Pat wants to see you." Pat, like I was Pat's whipping boy during the regular season. I played like 26 games in the regular season. Like my first NHL game, I get called up right down the street here at the Meadowlands. I get called up on my birthday, first NHL game. I score 2 goals. And like first star of the game. They interview afterwards, asked the coach because our team was having trouble scoring goals all year. And they're like, "Oh, why isn't this kid being called up earlier?" Because this is January. "Why is this kid being called up earlier? He scored 2 goals here." He goes, "Because he didn't do a goddamn thing in training camp." I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy hates me." You know what I mean? Like I can't even have one day of like enjoying this. So like, anyways, so Pat was up, like he was on me all the time. So he comes up to me before game 4 of the finals, and he gets up to me and he gets this close. He's like, "Did you go out last night?" I'm like, "No, I didn't go out last night."
He's trying to receive you. I mean, vodka on your
I
breath.
don't know. You could taste it if I did. He was right here, and he goes, "You didn't go out last night?" I'm like, "No, I didn't go out last night." And he goes, "So if I find out," he goes, "You're telling me," he goes, "if I find out you went out last night, you'll never play in this GD league again."
God.
And I go, "Pat, I'm like, I'm 23. I'm trying to stay out of the way. I didn't go out. I was in bed at 10:30, like whatever." And he goes, "All right, go get dressed. You're playing." And I'm like, "Holy shit." So I'm like, so literally, like, it was genius by him. I was not out. I was in bed at like 10:30. And like, it was genius by him because I wasn't nervous about the actual game. I was just trying to prove to him I wasn't hungover, even though I didn't even have a drink. You know, I'm like, what if I just drip? Like, you know what I mean? He's gonna be like, "Oh, he was out." You know what I mean? Like, so like literally I was in survival mode, and I was so relaxed because I wasn't even focusing at like the grand the picture of it all. But going into game 7 at home, my dad too, my parents were coming up, and again, I was a rookie. All the tickets and everything was situated. It was game 7, Stanley Cup Finals. I didn't have any tickets, dude. My parents came up. My mom, stepdad came up.
You had no tickets to leave family?
No, they were all used by the vets. And I didn't like, what am I?
Right, what are you gonna do?
I said to my parents, I'm like, "Guys, I'm sorry."
Scalp.
I'm like, "Sorry."
The scalp some tickets, mom.
So my mom met a fan. Like, listen how sick this is. My mom met a fan in Jersey here during the regular season, and they exchanged, you know, like Mother's Day, like Facebook, sent each other Facebook, you know, whatever's. And so they stayed in contact, and they had season tickets, and they're like, "You're not seeing your son." They gave their season tickets up that night for my mom to go to the game.
What?
And my dad was out at the parking lot in the Meadowlands scalping for tickets. He got a ticket all the way up at the top. And I'm like, a game of my life. Like, we win 3-0. I got a goal and 2 assists, first star, game 7. And I'm like, they almost didn't go. You know what I mean? So it's cool thinking about that and just seeing your parents afterwards, you know. So, you know, it's having them a part of it was incredible. So,
that story it makes it better.
Yeah, good.
You still talk to that family?
Yeah, I mean, my mom does. I've ran into them a couple times. Wow, yeah, it's awesome. It's amazing that they would do that. You know,
yeah, it's really cool. Rupper, we went to Haiti. The first time I really met you is we took a trip to Haiti. You, me, and Max Talbot, and Brad Henderson back in the day. It was like 2009, I think, 10.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Around 10, 11, something like that. We were building an orphanage in Haiti, and Rupper and I went out there, and boy, we had some good laughs, dude. That's what I was like. I was like, I just met one of my favorite human beings alive, Mike Rupp. Guy, incredible. We were first off, Chinch, we were going up this mountain one time. We were heading up to this village at the top of the mountain. Must have been like 10 miles. But dude, I'm obviously not in as good a shape as Rupper at the time, right? So we're going up there. There's this one lady. She's got like stacks of baskets on her head, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably 75 pounds. She's just ripping up. People are ripping up and down this mountain. I grab Rupper. I'm like, "Hey, bro." I was like, "I gotta sit down." I was like, "I'm like dehydrated or something. I think I'm dying."
I thought you did. I'm like, I love this guy, but he might die on this trip.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was like, "Oh my God." think I'm gonna die. So Rupper basically like was like dumping water on my head. He's like, and remember we had like water bags or something?
Yeah, because you couldn't drink the water.
Yeah, you couldn't drink the water. And Culligan had these like water bags, you know. Meanwhile, Rupper might go down too because it's 98 degrees in Haiti. We're going up the mountain, and he's dumping this water on my head. I'm like, Rupper, we gotta save someone. Save yourself. I'm like, save yourself, Rupper.
We felt like we were in like we were Survivor Man.
Yeah, Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls. We're going up this mountain, but then everyone else that we pass on this mountain, just cool as a cucumber, just look at us like, this is what we do every single day. Exactly.
We're like, how far do you go to get food every day? They're like 7 miles up and down this mountain. Meanwhile, I'm almost in a coma, eruption, dumping water on me for our first trip ever up this mountain. I was like, these people are savages. Incredible.
And no, hey, one little side note with this too, Chich. Everyone down there played, everybody down there, all the kids at this orphanage, they were playing soccer. And so they don't, you know, they don't have shoes, right? So they're barefoot. And so they're playing soccer, and we were gonna go play soccer with them, and Max Talbot and like we're like, all right, we're kicking the ball around with them, and they're, you know, these kids are like going all out.
Yeah.
But they're on gravel. Like they're barefoot on gravel.
Oh my
and I
God.
felt like kind of like a douchebag wearing shoes. So I'm like, we should probably like take our shoes off.
Yeah.
And I take them off, dude. I'm like this. I'm walking, I'm like, oh. Like that's
So
these
what?
kids are sprinting, slide tackling, and like we're like tough hockey players, and I'm like gingerly walking. I'm like, oh gosh, that was a shark boy. It was awful. These kids are tough as nails, man. That was an experience, like the toughest human beings on the planet.
Seriously,
That's so
it was
good.
incredible. They really are actually.
Yeah.
It was an incredible trip. But that's where I first met Rupper, and I really started to follow him. And we, you know, he's been here at NHL Network for what is it, 10 years now? Probably. 10 years now. Which is
Jesus.
incredible.
Wow, it's
But you know, we became buddies really when he was with the Penguins back then. And you know, I want to go back to some of those. You know what? I remember the one day I went down to practice to see you because I was getting some stuff for my charity, obviously. And I was talking. I got a chance to talk to Sid Crosby too. And I remember him saying to me, I said, you know, how do you guys do it, sprinting up and down the ice and all that stuff? And he said something to me as a baseball player. How do you guys do it playing 162 games?
Yeah.
Like the mentality of that. Take us through like the mentality of like a hockey player. Like, what does it take to be out there? And you know, and why are there so many lines? You know, when guys getting on and off the ice.
Yeah, it's different than a lot of sports because a lot of people be like, oh, were you a starter? Like, there's not really
There's
starters, right? Like, so
If you're there, you're a starter.
in most sports, your best players start, but or you know they play to start the game. In hockey, a lot do, but then there's a lot too that maybe you want to set a tempo of a game, or you want to make sure that you know you don't get a goal against you early on, so you can start different players, different lines, maybe guys that aren't so capable of scoring a goal, so but you know they're going to lock it down defensively. So they, you know, and then these shifts, NHL shift lengths are from 35 to 45 seconds. Like that's not a lot of time, right? Like, but you're going, like you're gassed after that, and then basically, you know, when 3 lines pass, you're back up and you're ready to go again. And yeah, so I think that's you know, something unique in hockey that. Yeah, it's a grind. I mean, every sport is a grind. The playoff hockey I find is the best because
The atmosphere too, right?
and I love it. Yeah, the atmosphere is great. The sacrifices you see, like I've seen the guys like, you know, badge of honor, just like stitches all over their face. And, like it's incredible. But I remember seeing guys come into training camp. And guys would be like just yoked, and they're like, "Wow, we had a good summer, you know. This guy's ready to go." And then you look at that player in the locker room during the playoff run, just like drawn cheeks, like lost so much like body mass, like it just didn't hang on mode. Like, and I love that part about it. And to go back to when I was able to be impactful in that playoffs, those guys went. I remember my first game, that game 4 after the coach scared the hell out of me. I got a high stick and I just got a couple stitches here, but I had to get stitches here, but I got a stick in the mouth. So I had a fat lip. I had slashes. Back then you could slash a lot more. So I had like these big welts on my forearms. Like I after the game, I had ice bags on both forearms and ice bag on my eye. I played one game. And I remember looking around like these guys have played 20 some playoff games, let alone the 82 regular season games.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that it served me well. I was fresh as a daisy, dude. Right. Like I didn't play a game in 2 months. You know, my American League season was already over, you know what I mean, in the minors. So it just shows you like how it's just kind of get to hang on mode in the playoffs and what it is in the NHL. I think it's incredible. You see the sacrifices, and I love that you can have no namers will their way into winning, right? Put one in off their teeth, you know, whatever it takes, man, you know, and some of the best players maybe aren't willing to do that. And that's the difference between winning and losing. So yeah.
Would you ever have thought about when having stitches coming out of that game?
Oh no.
Like I feel like you guys are different breeds. I feel like the hockey players are like different animals,
especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you're not. I mean, it's going to take a lot to get you out. I remember a game against the Rangers. I was with the Devils, not a playoff game, but down the stretch, kind of playoff push. I got in a fight and I got tagged. I got dropped. I was out.
Oh, you got knocked out?
Yeah, I got knocked out, and I got up and I was like, oh man, and I was like, I could tell I wasn't really like there all in I had like my eye was like, you know, you ever get like the muscles around your eye kind of like twitch, it wouldn't stop. So I'm like, I can't. I'm just like, you're trying to hold my eye still. Like I can't. So I went in the locker room and then eventually like I had to convince the trainer that I'm okay. And
meanwhile, you just been knocked out, your eyes twitching.
Yeah.
But I'm good.
And the trainer's like saying to me, he's like, if I let you come back, you're not going to go try to fight that guy again. Like you're not fight. Like you just, you know, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, why would I fight the guy? He just knocked me out. And then my first shift to jump over the boards, they go whack the guy. Let's go. I'm trying to like, you know, like, no, you knocked me out. Like, and he was showboating on the way to the penalty box. So I'm gonna fight you again. And I give the guy credit. He wouldn't fight me because he's like, dude, you're like, he didn't want that on him.
You got problems.
Yeah, he's like, well, not just that, because a lot of guys are not like, a lot of guys would act like that, but like he had the wherewithal to be like, he knew that I was a little like concussed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like he's like, dude, come on, man, like I'll fight you next game, but like yeah.
So wait, Case, can we stay there? I this is a question I really want to ask. This is like right in the wheelhouse of this. So
Yes.
it's like a two-parter. So I remember it was like 7 or 8 years ago. You know, HBO was doing like a Hard Knocks NFL type thing with the hockey guys, and the Penguins were in it, and it was so good. It was they were doing the what is that? They were going to play outside, and so they
Winter Classic.
Winter Classic, yeah. Sorry, I do know hockey. That's a terrible thing. And there's this one scene that always stuck with me. It stuck with me so hard because Sid Crosby gets checked up against the boards in this show, and he turns to the guy, and he was mic'd up, and he goes, "Hey, we got to fight." And this dude was like, "I'm not fighting you. You're Sidney Crosby. I'm not fighting you." And he goes, "We got to do it." And the guy was like, "Okay." And then they fought. So what you're just saying right now, there's some form, like, can you explain to our audience, especially baseball audience, like the respect that goes into fighting? Because it sounds like, oh, a fight is the most disrespectful thing you could do to another human being, right? But in hockey, it seems like there is some level of respect, and I will fight you when I fight you, or I won't fight you. And there's the reason why we fight and why we don't fight. And all that up, there's a story about you where some guy actually said to you once, "May I please fight you today?"
Yeah. So okay. I mean,
I know it's a deep question, but I think
the fights are real. Like,
they are real.
You're not in like a all the fights are real. There's been times that, and the game's gotten away from some of them. Like there used to be some where we would just line up for a face-off, and our team would be up, 3-0, and you're trying to get the home crowd going. Oh, let's go. And then you fight. Like I hated those, and I lost those fights because I'm not mad.
Right.
And but you had to do it at times. Excuse me.
Would they be like, Rupp, you gotta take care of this?
No, the team would never. I never had a coach ever say go fight somebody.
Okay.
Like I don't think anybody would have. Like they don't do that. But it would just you understand the reads of the situation or whatever. But so I didn't love those. But there's a respect level there of, momentum. There's if you're trying to come after Sidney Crosby and your team is, then you gotta. My job is to create some space for him, let him do his thing, or whomever that superstar is. So yeah, there's a lot to it, but there's a respect there, and sometimes maybe there's not. If there's a guy, and there's very few that are kind of disrespectful in that regard. As far as in hockey they always call it the code. The code is and what the code means and says. But if there's an example. If there's a guy that's going to be running around on the ice and he's stirring things up and he's doing his job for his team, and I need him to settle down because that's where I come in and I need to negate what he's doing. So I'll go challenge the guy. And if the guy doesn't fight me and he's going to continue to run around, then I'm like, all right, I have no choice. So I've had situations where you like, for example, there's been a face-off in front of the other team's bench, and I'll stand right, I'm standing this far from their bench, and I yelled at their coach, hey, put Sean on the ice.
Right.
Put Sean on the ice. See how tough he is. Show him up front of the coach. Like, whatever. And then, or you turn to their best player and be like, hey, listen, he goes, if he's not going to stand up, I'm coming after you. And like, you know what I mean? It's going to be you, Chinch. Hey,
Right? Yeah.
hey, if Case is going to run around like a donkey and not do anything about it, well, guess what? It's you.
They
All
go
right,
very
so
similar
keep
to
your head up.
baseball.
You know what
Very
I mean?
similar to baseball, right, Case?
Yes.
Right.
The homer, you get hit in the back. That's why I want to get into this.
So, like, all right, we're going to play that game, and you're not going to stand up for how you're acting. Then, all right. So then I've seen it where guys get in the locker room, and some of these skilled players, they don't want that.
They don't want to fight. Right?
So they come in and be like, dude, go take care of your business. Like, don't make it where it's on me.
Right.
So, like, you know what I mean? They're like,
Right.
yeah, so there's that's kind of the other way of doing it. But yeah, it's an ongoing. It's still an effective thing. It's a little less of the fighting, I guess, nowadays. But man,
They still go at it though.
yeah,
What was it the other day? I saw a game 2 seconds into the game. The whole freaking both sides dropped the gloves. It was a freaking.
dude, I was so pissed.
Really?
No, because I'll tell you this that was the Rangers Devils. So Rangers Devils back in 2012, I was on the Rangers and playing against my former team, the Devils. And there was a lead up going into this game in March. And we ended up playing them in the Eastern Conference Finals and playoffs. But we're getting ready for this game. And the away team, the game's at MSG, the away team turns in who they're starting in the game. Their team starts all their tough guys. So then our coach comes in, is like, I have to start you guys. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do here, whatever, but whatever, be ready. So we start the game. As soon as the pucks drop, all of there's three of us all drop our gloves at the same time. So there's three fights simultaneously going on.
You're dropping.
No one said anything. It's just you could feel once we lined up, we can feel the crowd at MSU was all on their feet.
Oh, because they could see the line.
They could see from the personnel. The guy was in the California Pino League last year. He's out here with this guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you kind of could see the writings on the wall. And so that happened. So anyways, that happened in 2012. This year, the end of the season, there was some stuff leading up to it. You knew there was going to be a response game from the Devils because the Rangers have this Matt Rempe who, whatever, he's been hurting Devil players, whatever. So the Rangers had me do an alumni appearance, and they asked me like 2 weeks prior. They're like, hey, can you go to this thing and then we'll just leave you the tickets for the game? I'm like, oh, absolutely, I'll do it. So I'm like, I wonder what game. I don't even know what game it is. So I look it up on the schedule. I'm like, Devils Rangers. This is the next game. Like I know from covering this is going to be the game that something can happen. So I'm at this thing. and this is where I get pissed. I'm here with the fans. It was awesome, great time. Get over to the arena, and I get a text, and it's like, it wasn't their fault. They're like, hey, we have a few more people, some representatives we want you to meet and just take your picture with. They'll take 2 minutes, and then you can get going. So we go there, and these people are late, and they're late, and they're late. And I remember, I'm like, I swear to God, if I'm not in my seat
For the
for this face off of the game, I feel like something's going to happen.
Wow.
So then finally, I'm not like in the actual arena. I'm just outside it, and then like these fans come or whoever, you take pictures. Hi, yeah, whatever, smile, and then all of a sudden we look, and I can hear inside the arena going nuts, and they're 5-on-5 brawl.
Oh my gosh! And you're outside
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, smile pretty."
Yeah, and these people don't even know who I am. So like I don't even want to take the picture,
That's
brother.
the worst.
So I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh no, and I'm like, I just want to go home. Like, I didn't want to see the game. So then I go up to the seats, and everybody, all the Ranger fans remember, because it was like literally, what would that have been? That would have been like 10, 11 years prior. Was that was the last time it happened. Same team, same situation at MSC. And so I'm at my seat, and the Ranger fans are like, Robert, you remember that? I'm like, dude, I didn't see it. Like, what happened? It was awful. But yeah, it's I love the fighting aspect of the game. It has a place. All the skilled guys, when you talk to them, there's a place for it, because we skate around with weapons. Okay. If my job's to shut down the best skilled guy, if there's no fighting, you're going to have a lot more injured superstars.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to do their thing. So
I never thought of it that way, because I think people do think, look at these guys in hockey. They're still, in the NFL, they're like, oh no, you can't leave with your helmet. If anyone, looks a little bit like they're concussed, it's over. Here in hockey, like, everyone drop the gloves and start throwing haymakers at each other.
I will say this: that one time I told you I got hit.
Yeah.
And there's 2 times in my career where I took like a bad punch. And that's the thing that people did back in the 70s and 80s, where guys were just like, they were just playing punch me in the face. Like they like, it's not like that, and it hasn't been like that for a little while. Guys will protect themselves, and there's more like an art to it now, as opposed to just being tough as nails.
Yeah.
And the head injuries come from hits to the head, checks. Very rarely I do guys get
from the fights. Yeah.
Do you guys practice? Do you do boxing? Like, do guys?
I took boxing. Yeah, I took boxing in my career, more so I actually did it for just conditioning purposes, and then I just learned. And then I was doing so much better in my fights. Really? I learned how to like actually throw a straight punch.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, it's not about the power and the momentum of the punch. It's about how many punches and the speed of the punches. So like,
deliver.
Yeah, just real quick, just ins and outs real quick, just the jabs.
Yeah.
When you first start fighting, no one works, so you just swing them from the fence. Yeah. You can swing with everything you can, but you're coming around like, you know what I mean? Like, no, man, it's all like just about these, like, boom, boom. You know what I mean? And but hey, you mentioned Zdeno Chara with that. That was he is a captain. He was captain of the Boston Bruins, and we were playing in Boston with the Penguins.
And 6'9", by the way, 6'9". This guy was, right?
6'9", yeah, 6'9". So most fights I was generally the bigger guy. And this was the first fight where, and usually being a smaller guy fighting a bigger guy, you want to jump the guy. You don't want to like square off. Like, when I say jump, I don't mean like sucker punch. You just like get in tight real quick. So you don't have a reach, right? I take your reach away. And guys, you would do that to me all the time because I was bigger. But I always thought that there's like a respect level of squaring off. All right, we're good. All right, let's do this, And so something happened in a prior game that this city of Boston, and this was a lot of lead up for this. And Chara, being the captain, wanted to set things straight. So he asked me early on in the game if I'll fight him. And we're winning the game 1-0. So at that time, I should not fight. I should not give them on the road for us any momentum. Like, we're good right now. So, but I understood what he was doing because he was sticking up for a teammate of something that happened a few
So
games
because
back.
of that, you're okay to fight him now.
I'm okay, but not now because I don't want to get in trouble for fighting you now. I don't need to, we don't need to give any momentum at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, so Dano Z's like, he lines up with me and he goes, may I have this fight? And I'm like, did you say dance or like the most pleasant? May I have this dance? May I have this? I'm like, well, what? He's a class actor. He's he's the hockey royalty. And that's kind of how he speaks. And I'm like, he's like lined up with me, like right here. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, not right now. I'm like, we're winning 1-0, man. I'm like, I'll throw it to you in the third. Like, we're gonna keep doing that. He goes, no, I understand. And I'm like, okay. So the next shift, he asked me again. I'm like, no, dude, still not gonna fight.
Still not
Like,
the third.
It's still not the third. It's still the first period. And but I think he wanted to like push that envelope, and so then we end up. And this is where it gets tricky. Once the game got like 3-0 for us, now we've kind of blown it open. Where now maybe I have to address it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're lined up for a face-off at center ice, and this guy Sean Thornton, who's tough.
Oh, dude, I know Thornton.
Sean Thornton, yeah.
Thornton's
He's tough as nails too.
Yeah.
Thornton lines up with me. He lines up with me, and he goes,
Oh my God.
he goes, hey, Rupper, the big man wants to, I think the big man wants you. And so I lean back and I look behind him, and like at the blue line, like he's 25 feet away. Char goes, come on, please. Like that's, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, fine. So we dropped the gloves, and I'm coming in, and I've never come into a fight being that much smaller. And I remember I was like coming in trying to grab him, and his hand is like, his front hand to reach is like right here. His head's like way back there. I remember I'm like, and the closer I got to him, I was like this. I was like, I like sneaking under like this, and I grabbed him, and I threw like a punch that was halfway to him, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
Oh my God.
Like I'm not gonna hit this guy. And so it was fine. He didn't really hit me with it. He hit me one in the back of the head with my helmet on, just put me down. And then he was on top of me, and he was just like, thank you very much. I respect that. Thank you. I'm like, no problem, man.
That's
So funny.
unbelievable.
So funny thing though is my son Mason, he's 19 now. At that time, Mason would have been, he's 04 birth. He's 7, probably 6 or 7 at the time. Char was his favorite player. He had like he had like a Chara jersey T-shirt, and so he ends up. Mason has a picture of me getting thrown around by Chara, and he had me sign it and Zdeno Chara sign it, and he hung it over his bed. And I was like, at first I was like, it's cool, but I was like, wait a second. Like this picture, clearly your dad's getting beat up. Like this is your favorite thing. Like I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but like, yeah. But Chara was a class act, but he was respectful, but he was
Wow.
scary.
See, that's so fascinating to me, Case, because like you've been in fights. Sean Case has been suspended from baseball games for fighting. I love the dynamic of in all the sports, and the most respectful fighting happens in hockey. Well, when you guys
and they're real fights though. They're
Right.
respectful and real.
yeah, and then you like hug at the end. And in baseball, you're fighting usually because you hate somebody, you want to kill them, right? Because something bad happened. In basketball, I don't think they fight that much because I don't think many 6'10" guys who weigh 280 pounds have ever been in a fight. So when you see Alonzo Mourning like going like this, like I feel like he's never been in a fight in his life. Like it's just so fascinating to me about that stuff. Anyway, oh wow, we're hitting a wall here. You got a TV show to go do, don't you?
Yeah.
We're good. We got 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes. One of the questions I had a couple. I haven't got to one of the questions I asked. What about playing with like Sid Crosby or like or who are some of the guys that you played with or guys that you played against? You're like, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, Sid would be right there. I play with a bunch of, I was fortunate enough to play a lot of what will be Hall of Famer superstars, but Sid was an interesting one to me because, you know, it's not by chance that he's as great as he is. I remember, so 09, they won the cup in 09. that summer I signed with them. So I just missed that, but I was with them the next 2 years. And, you know, Sidney Crosby right now is revered as being one of the best two-way players of all time. Like, he's so good. I mean, he this year was the best MVP race that hockey's ever seen. And Sid was on that extended MVP list at the age of 36, right? Like, he had, I think he had 90 points, whatever he was at. But he's like a great shutdown. Like, he'll do anything for the team to win. But it wasn't always like that. Like, he was a point getter, young kid, stud coming in. Like, he had to work at that. And I remember hearing him that summer say, from talking to people too, they said that he was a guy where if they needed a goal, he was on the ice, right? But if they were trying to protect a lead, he wasn't necessarily out there because that wasn't like his MO at the time. And I think that the greats, it bugs them, right? They want the game in their hands all the time. And I love that about him. But it doesn't just happen. You know, it's not just given that. So it drove him nuts. And he said, you know what, I want to get better at face-offs. Because if I can get better at face-offs, I can be out there at the end of the game. And then also that summer, he said, you know, paraphrasing, but he was deemed a pass-first guy. He wasn't much of a shooter, right? He was a distributor.
Wow.
And so teams would be able to play him a certain way because they were always playing the pass. You could play off him a little bit because you just take away passing lanes. So that summer, he's like, I want to score more goals. So he wanted to work on face-offs and he wanted to score more goals. My first year with him there, that year he was top 5 in face-offs in the NHL, and he scored 50 goals and won the goal scoring title. And I'm like, I wanted to score more goals.
Yeah, I want to do all of it too.
You wanted to
hit more homers.
You wanted to hit more
Yeah.
homers. Just to be like, oh, I want to be, but he put the work in, dude, like every day doing these things. And that's the thing that jumped out to me. None of it's by chance.
Right.
Like, it's not by chance. This guy's worked for every single thing that he's done. He's developed all areas of his game.
That's so incredible. Rupert, you're one of the greatest. You're the first hockey player we've ever had in the Mayor's Hour podcast. You think you're one of the greatest NHL players ever, too, because you're our friend. But dude,
One of the
thanks.
greatest dudes and one of the greatest dudes.
Exactly. One of the greatest dudes of all time, man. Mike Rupert, dude, thanks a ton for taking your time and coming on with
I'm
us.
glad I was able to come on, man.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, we'll talk about playing for the Mob next time.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's right. We didn't talk about paying for the Mob.
Oh my
It's
God.
one of the greatest stories ever.
Hey, watch the Netflix documentary Untold.
Yes.
Untold Crime and Punishment.
We don't have time to do that story, do we?
Right now? 2 minutes.
Yo, come on,
All right.
come on.
Do it.
Please,
All
please.
right, so-
It's incredible. It's an incredible story.
Okay.
So NHL lockouts 04, 05 time. The league's canceled and I need a place to play. I'm a young kid. It's funny because we bring it full circle.
It's right after
This is a year after we won the cup in Jersey.
Wow.
So apparently this kid, he was 18 years old. He was at game 7 and he saw the game. He's a Devils fan. And long story short, his dad had some money and his dad bought him a minor league hockey team in Danbury, Connecticut. And this guy wanted to win a championship in that league and take advantage of, I guess, the NHL being on lockout because, players, there's a trickle-down effect. There was good players in what would be equivalent of AAA ball that are playing AA ball.
Right.
There's a trickle-down. And so this kid's putting together this roster and it's halfway through the season. And once it's canceled, he's like, he thinks back a year before and he saw me in game 7 and get 3 points. And he's like, oh, I want that guy. So they call me to come in and I was no superstar at all at the time. And they asked me to come play and they gave me this schedule where I could play every other weekend. I only have to play 10 games to qualify for the playoff roster. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I started realizing like, oh, this is kind of a unique situation. The kid's 18 years old. He's general manager of the team. The father, great family, treated us like gold. My agent, the father says, how much do you want to make here? I'm like, oh, you're taking care of me flying and playing these games. You're doing me a favor. I'll just give you my agent's information. Just pay me whatever you feel is necessary, whatever. My agent calls me back and he goes, where did you find this guy? And I go, oh, they contacted me. And he goes, he wants to pay you cash. I go, what do you mean he wants to pay you cash? He goes, he like wants to, no, like he wants to give you a duffel bag of cash. I'm like, what? So what ends up happening is, I don't get the duffel bag of cash. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how that's, whatever. But every 2 weeks I get paid not from the hockey club. I get paid from a different trash disposal company on the East Coast. And the stories galore. The guy treated us like gold. We had the toughest team ever. It was like Slapshot and the Sopranos is the best way of putting it. And literally this team would strike the fear in everybody, go out and fight, just brawling and winning games. The best. Oh my God.
I watched this documentary case. I realized Jess watched it with me, my wife, and she knows nothing about hockey. And she turned to me. I just remembered that I saw this whole thing, and she goes, "This might be the best documentary I've ever seen in my life."
That's what I heard. And
It's crazy.
Rupert, and you're in that documentary, right?
Yeah, I'm in it.
No, you're great.
What's it called? What's it called?
It's the Untold series. It's called Crime and Punishment.
Crime and
On
Punishment.
Netflix.
So
They
good.
did a great job. All of them actually are incredible on Netflix.
I can't wait to watch that. I can't
Yeah,
wait to
check
watch
it out.
All right, Rupert, thanks a ton,
All right.
dude.
Thank you, Rupert, man.
Yeah, guys. Take care, guys.
Awesome, dude.